The City of Cape Town manages waste in two formats. We have internal services as well as external services provided by contracted service providers. That's for our formal and informal settlements within the city. Formal areas are allocated 240-litre bins for removal on a weekly basis. And 240-litre bins are placed out on the sidewalk on the day of removal. Days of removal vary from one settlement to the other, depending on the beat they fall in. And that moves from Monday up until Friday. In informal settlements, we have what we call a blue bag system, whereby 2 bags are given to each unit in that informal settlement and collected on a weekly basis also. Currently, some of the informal settlements are on a 7-day waste collection and area cleaning, which means you don't just collect the waste from the resident, but you also do area cleaning, as well as those that are on a 5-day cleaning, and which means there are a few days in a week that you do not have cleaning happening in them. So that in itself has its own repercussions. If somebody does not have data or cannot call the city, anyone can walk into a municipal building, report the problem they are experiencing in that particular area, or alternatively report to the ward councillor or the leadership in that particular area so that they can report the problem they're having with regards to waste. So it cannot only depend on having data, but you can use other alternatives which you can speak to the people I mentioned. At the beginning of the contract or during the contract, the city will be having meetings with the leadership of that particular community and introduce the leadership the people that are responsible for managing the contract, and therefore in that way it's easier for the community to know who is responsible for their area. And the city representative, on a weekly basis, they find themselves in the area to monitor and evaluate the performance of the contractor in the area, or even our internal resources that we are using for collection of waste. So that in itself makes it easier to know who the person is, because they are introduced from time to time, especially if there are changes that are happening in that area. The city's plans to bolster the waste economy, the city's role mainly it's an enabling role, whereby they ensure that the playing field is leveled for all players in order for them to participate. The city cannot do recycling because they do not have a processing facility, but that it's opened up to entrepreneurs in the community and any other entrepreneur that comes into the city with technology that can extract value out of the waste. So the city's side, it's to put regulations that manages or rather ensures that people do their activities in a manner by which it's not detrimental to the environment. You will recall that we have an Environmental Management Act, which in the city we have a bylaw which has to be followed, and that bylaw, it's not restricting business but enabling business to function in a manner by which it doesn't harm the environment or the rights of other residents within the city.
In the soil audit, we found out that, first of all, the community was not aware who was cleaning in their areas. And we also found out that they have no idea how many bags a week they're supposed to receive, and also how many times a week does a rubbish supposed to be collected, and whose responsibility is to take the rubbish from their houses to the containers. Well, our recommendation was that there must be a good communication between the service provider and the community, but it also remains the responsibility of the City of Cape Town once they conducted service. However, the responsibility still lies with the City of Cape Town. The improvement is that our areas are clean, most of them, and people are receiving bags now. But there's still, I think the only issue is still the communication process. I also don't know how many times do the people clean, but people are receiving bags now as compared to before, and the rubbish has been regularly been collected. The processes are very tricky, but I think it's good to also start with the people that are cleaning, because they are the one who have communication with the service provider. Then the service provider can contact the city. I don't know if there is a direct process between the community and the City of Cape Town, because the only people we see are the people who are actually performing the service. I think there must be platforms for those discussions, because you cannot rely on contracted services, because these are just for business. But if you want to build strong communities, you must rely on engagement with the people, on listening to them. What do they want? What do they prefer? What do they think can work best? So the communication between the City of Cape Town and the people is the one that can work. People actually to be able to express themselves and have a contact. Because if you send someone, they will always tell you the answer, no, I've been sent to do this. But we want the people who send you to give us straight answers. So they always don't have straight answers. So rather bring someone who's directly involved to speak with the people and provide this platform, like maybe let's sit maybe once a month or twice a month or weekly or monthly. Just have someone responsible to listen to people and understand exactly what's going on. Before you can provide any service, you must understand the dynamics of different communities.
And according to the city says that whenever there's a new contractor in the community, they inform the residents of that community. Is that thing happening?
I don't think so. I'm also a community member, so I've never seen any such meeting or engagement. Because even engagement, like maybe we interpret it differently. So there must be specific what engagement means and how do they engage and where do they engage. Because we've been engaging on most City of Cape Town's meeting and forums, and they were meaningless. So sometimes the way they say they engage is not the same way that you understand engagement.